Will Bradley Beal ever leave the Washington Wizards? Let's get into this. Quickly before we get the video started, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more NBA content just like this one, hit that subscribe button and that post notification bell. Anyways, back to the video. Bradley Beal was drafted number 3 overall in the 2012 NBA draft, and obviously when you're getting drafted that high in the draft, you obviously have a ton of talent. But the thing about Bradley Beal is, on top of having a ton of talent, he's also a very hard worker. And when you actually look at Beal's career path, you can clearly tell how much he's actually worked on his game. When Beal originally came into the NBA, he was definitely known as a talented guy, but he was known as a guy that was more of just a three-point shooter and catch and shoot three-point guy, and he wasn't necessarily a guy who can create for himself off the dribble and really be a true superstar player at that point in his career. And when you actually look at Bradley Beal's career path, you can see each and every season he's improving. And I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but when you typically see a guy improving each and every season, getting a little bit better here, a little bit better there, that typically means that player's a very hard worker, and each and every offseason they're putting a tremendous amount of work to really refine some parts of their game that maybe they had a weakness in, or maybe strengthening some other parts of their game. They just work very hard during the offseason to improve their game each and every season. And when you look at Bradley Beal, that's exactly what you see, which is a great sign for him going forward. And over the years, all the work that Bradley Beal has been putting in really paid off, and that takes us all the way to the point that we are at currently. Whenever we think of Bradley Beal, we always think of just a pure scorer that has a very refined game. Beal is a great three-point shooter, he's a great mid-range shooter, he can drive all the way to the basket, he can do so many different things on the offensive side of the ball, and maybe Bradley Beal, you can make the argument that he is one of the best, if not the best offensive player we have in the NBA currently. The amount of points he puts up per game over the past 2 seasons, it's just ridiculous. And he's not only putting up empty numbers, he's actually pretty efficient with those numbers as well, which just shows you the true talent he has on the offensive side of the ball. But now let's actually look at Bradley Beal's game and take his game point by point to really see how great of an offensive player Beal really is. So first, let's talk about Bradley Beal's three-point shooting ability. So as I mentioned before in the video, this is something that Beal came into the NBA with. Throughout Beal's entire career, he was always known as a guy who's an amazing three-point shooter, and this is something that hasn't changed currently. Beal is of course very good at catch and shoot three-point shots, but the difference about Bradley Beal compared to other players is he's also very versatile in terms of his three-point shooting ability. The new thing in the NBA is side steps and step backs, and Beal's obviously very effective at both of these things. And what makes Beal so effective is, of course, he's a great three-point shooter. That's of course the baseline that you need, but Beal is also very effective in terms of his feet work as well. Beal uses crazy footwork to create space on those step backs and side steps, but also Beal has a very above average handle as well to really cross over the defender and pull up from that three-point shot as well, making his three-point shooting ability just so effective and, more importantly, so versatile. But now let's talk about Beal's mid-range shooting ability. So very similar to Beal's three-point shooting ability, he basically has a similar skills that he did there. Beal obviously can catch and shoot from that mid-range spot, although that doesn't happen very often. Beal's also a very good pull-up mid-range jump shot shooter, and I personally think that's a pretty effective shot because you can create a ton of space by really putting the defender off balance when you quickly run into that shot and pull up from that mid-range area, which is something Beal is definitely very effective at. But more than anything else, Beal's amazing footwork really comes into play in his mid-range game. Something that Beal has down pat is that post turnaround fadeaway shot, which is personally one of my favorite moves because the amount of space you can create from it and the amount of actual good shots you can get from it. And Beal uses that crazy footwork and above average athleticism to really create a ton of space on that jump shot specifically, and that's one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, why Beal is averaging so many points per game, as well as is so efficient on those crazy numbers that he's averaging per game, is that post turnaround fadeaway shot. Beal is also very effective in terms of his floater ability, and talking about his actual finishing ability, Beal is also very effective at that as well. Beal is not necessarily a guy that's incredibly athletic to the point where he's going to posterize the defender each and every play, but Beal definitely does have the athleticism to do that from time to time. But mostly what Beal does when he gets to the basket is put up those crazy athletic layups in terms of those crafty layups that he's able to put up around the taller defenders in the paint. And overall, that's a big reason why I think Beal is so effective when getting all the way to the basket, because he doesn't necessarily rely on one thing. He has a ton of different layup packages that he can go to while he's in the air getting all the way to the basket, and that's obviously a very important thing when you're at the skill level that Beal is currently. But now talking about Beal's passing and playmaking ability, this is definitely not one of his strengths within his game, but Beal is to the point where if he gets doubled or triple teamed, he's more likely than not going to find that wide open teammate cutting all the way to the basket, or maybe in the corner for a wide open three, or maybe at the wing for a three, or whatever, he's more likely than not gonna find that player. At this point, I think Bradley Beal has done enough on the offensive side of the ball to really gain the respect of the general NBA public, and most people know what Bradley Beal can do and what he's actually capable of on the offensive side of the ball. But now let's move on to the title of the video and the reason why you guys clicked on the video, which is, could Bradley Beal actually ever leave the Washington Wizards? Of course, over the past few seasons, the Washington Wizards have definitely not been the best team to actually play for. The Wizards have been consistently bad for a few years now, and even when they were good back a few years ago, they were never good enough to really honestly contend for an NBA championship. They were just a pretty good team going into the playoffs that may win a round, maybe two if they got lucky, but they were never necessarily a true championship contender. So throughout Bradley Beal's entire career with the Wizards, he's never really done anything of value in terms of actually being a true contender. And specifically over the past few seasons, the Wizards have been really bad. They've been nowhere near a playoff spot, and they're not even close to competing for even a playoff spot, and it appears that the Wizards have really changed their philosophy in favor of really trying to build a youth movement and really looking forward to the NBA draft each and every season to purposely almost be bad to get a higher draft pick, to maybe get a rookie that can take them out of this funk that they're in and really bring them to real competency. And a lot of NBA fans do wonder why Bradley Beal would ever want to stay with this organization when it's clear that the Wizards are at no point of really winning an NBA championship at this point or even competing for an NBA playoff spot. So a lot of fans are saying that the Wizards are kind of just wasting Bradley Beal's prime because Bradley Beal specifically is playing out of his mind, but his team is not winning, obviously. So why wouldn't Bradley Beal actually want to go to a different NBA team where maybe he can be the guy and actually have better players around him and have some more help around him, and at the very least compete for a playoff spot, maybe be pretty high in the playoffs, or maybe even go to a team where he can legitimately have a chance to win an NBA championship. But of course, over the past few seasons, there's definitely been some trade rumors revolving around Bradley Beal's name, but of course, obviously, Bradley Beal has never got traded up until this point. So now the real question is, if the Washington Wizards continue to lose and continue to go in the path that they currently are going in, would Bradley Beal ever get traded from the Washington Wizards? So of course, in the past, there's definitely been a few different opportunities where Bradley Beal actually could have requested a trade and maybe could have even got out of the Washington Wizards organization, but each and every time he has had an opportunity to get traded, he's always said no and always denied the rumors. I think the closest point that Beal was ever actually to getting traded from the Wizards was when recently there's reports out that Beal was actually thinking about requesting a trade, which is unprecedented because in the past, whenever the trade rumors came to him, he always said no, he always wanted to stay with the Wizards, but he ended up deciding to stay with the Wizards even though he was obviously decently close to maybe saying he wants to trade to get out of the Wizards organization. So in my opinion, currently, if Bradley Beal hasn't been traded by now, and he's always denied each and every trade rumor and each and every opportunity he had to get out of that Wizards organization, I think at this point, it's very unlikely that Beal will ever get traded unless the Wizards trade Beal without Beal wanting to get traded. I don't ever think Beal would ever ask for a trade from the Wizards organization, no matter how bad it gets over there at this point. I think Beal is determined to stay loyal to the team that drafted him in the Wizards, and he's always going to stay there no matter what happens with them. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think Bradley Beal will ever get traded from the Wizards, or do you think he's always going to stay with the Wizards for the rest of his career? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out, guys.